Tweets Guru, where barbecue and grilling's made tasty. And I'm Brandon Tanner, and today we're going to do a marinated flank steak. That is a recipe that I grew up with as a kid as far as the way the marinade goes. We're going to cook a little bit different than what we typically did. We used to just kind of sear it on the grill, real quickly. So we're actually going to reverse sear this particular piece of meat, where we're going to smoke it for 45 minutes, take it off, put some cast iron on, get it smoking hot, and then sear it and kind of lock in some of those flavors. And we'll add some compound butter and stuff like that on there too. But anyways, if you like this type of content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Lower right hand corner, really appreciate the support. And this is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's mostly household stuff that you should have laying around. If you don't, it's pretty easy to pick up. We're doing 2 flank steaks. I'm only showing one for this particular as far as the steak goes and the way we'll do that. But I'm doing a second one, which I'm going to do jerky. So I'll have another video for that for you to watch. But the difference there is, we're going to cut the jerky like this, then marinate in the same marinade, but we're going to do 2 different days and 2 different videos. So anyways, so this is double the typical recipe for a single flank steak, and we like to reserve before we put the meat in. We like to take some of the marinade out so that we can pour it over our pieces after we've cut them. Just tasting preference deal. Straightforward. So these here on the left are pretty much a cup, and then these are obviously, you can see, are a little bit less, but just water. And there'll be detailed instructions for the recipe in the description below, so just click on the more and you can check out the additional information on what it is. You don't have to pay a ton of attention to this part. But I've got water, soy sauce, ketchup, olive oil, Worcestershire. Worcestershire is one of those things, depending on your taste and preference. If you really like Worcestershire, we put in quite a bit. If you don't, you can cut it in half compared to the other ingredients, but that's your call. We love the taste of Worcestershire, so it'll be a pretty prevalent flavor throughout this. This is freshly minced garlic, and this is probably, I think we did about eight or so cloves. Again, we're doubling the recipe. And then these are chopped onions, and obviously, about a cup of those. So we're going to mix all this together, and then there's a couple things. One thing is we're going to put it in a disposable pan, which is one of the things I like to marinate stuff in. But if you want to cut down on the ingredients too, you can also put this in a bag and just seal in a bag and move it, flip it, that kind of stuff. Since I'm doing both jerky and doing the flank steak, I'm going to put it in a pan so I can kind of mix them around, and I want a little more juice in there. So that's just how I'm doing this particular one. So with that, I will get to mixing, and then we'll marinate, and then we'll show you the rest of the steps we go through. Okay, so we're going to put this, like I said, in a disposable pan, and like I said, I'm doing some jerky, so that's going to come in after this too, so I'm using the whole pan. Here's our mixture. Before you put it with the meat, we actually put aside some of the marinade so that we can drizzle it on after it's been cooked and stuff, so you're welcome to do that. And obviously you want to do it before you put it in the meat, so that you don't do it afterwards, of course, because you'd have to boil it or whatever you got to do. It's just a much easier way to do it. So with that, we will get this marinade on there. And one of the things I like to do is I like to actually kind of work it in. So I get the meat down in there and kind of rub it in and get that marinade going, flip it over a couple times, really get it nice and coated before putting it in the fridge. And so, I'll put tin foil over the top of this and then throw it in the fridge. And like I said, I'm at a minimum overnight guy when it comes to this. You really want it to penetrate. You might get away with less, but I really wouldn't recommend it. So with that, we'll get this tucked away and put in the fridge. Alright, so we've marinated overnight. We're ready to put our flank steak on, and we did our jerky during the day, smoked it for about 4 hours, and man, it turned out awesome. Kids already put a big dent in it real quick, so I know it's good. And in this case, the way I'm set up here is I'm going to smoke it for 45 minutes at 180. So I want to keep the temperature down a bit. I don't want to overcook it or anything like that. And I've got my cast iron sitting here, and this over here is the hottest part of my grill. And any grill typically has some hot spots, but I like to put my cast iron right on the hot spot because I want it as hot as it can get. And even though I'm going to be smoking for 45 minutes, I want this thing to be as hot as possible. After 45 minutes, I'm going to take it off, rest it a bit, and then I'm going to turn this up to high and get this thing up to, you know, today it should be over 450 pretty easy. And then I put some oil on this already so that the oil gets really hot too, and then we'll actually put some butter on that before we put it on here to really kind of get that good sear that we want. But with that, we'll get it on here and we'll be good to go. Alright, so we've got some really good smoke on this flank steak. We're going to pop it open, take it off. I'll crank it on to high here, and then you know, give it about probably 20-30 minutes to get just smoking hot, and then we'll sear it on the cast iron and add a little bit of butter onto our flank steak before we do that, and it should be delicious. And we'll just, on the flank steak side of it, you know, depending on what you want, you know, how you want it cooked, but we'll probably throw it on for like 3 minutes aside. If you like it more on the medium rare to rare side, you might want to just do 2 minutes aside, or, you know, whatever you want to do. Because you do cook it a bit, obviously, you know, over the 45 minutes at the 180 to 200 range. So, but we kind of, you know, for the most part, the center for me is just right around medium rare, and then the outsides are more medium to medium well, and that's what, you know, my wife and kids like that a little bit better. So, so it's kind of to each their own, but that just kind of gives you an idea. So looking good. Got some good smoke on this guy. Alright, it's good to check just to make sure that you're still good and oiled up, which I'm fine on this deal. It'll be just perfect. So we'll crank it up. Alright, so we got loads of heat going on here. I've got my flank steak that's been sitting. We're sitting at about 440, 445. And then I'm going to drizzle some butter on this and flip it over and set it at the back corner on this deal. And I'm going to just put on for a couple minutes. Flip it for another couple minutes, and then take it off, and we'll be good to go. Rock and roll. Alright, so, you know, we just put this on for a few minutes on each side because it's a relatively uniform, thin piece of meat. If it's a little bit thicker, you may want to go a little bit longer, but that's up to you. You can always pan fry it if it's not done to someone's liking, but we like it, you know, where it's nice and you know, kind of medium rare in the middle and medium toward the ends. And then a flank steak, you know, unlike the jerky that we cut this way to make it kind of pull and make it kind of chewy, this one, you know, the grain's running this way, so we're actually going to slice this at like a 45-degree angle all the way through. And that way it's really tender when you cut it, and when you eat it, it's really, you know, easy to eat. So we'll get to cutting up a little bit of this. Take a little look and see what we got going on here. Oh man, this is going to be just perfect. So, and that kind of gives you what we got going on at the end there. I'll slice it here a little bit just so you can kind of see what we got toward the center. And that's just perfect. You know, that's just right at, you know, medium rare. That's how we like it. You can do a little more raw if you want to it. But let me get my taste tester up here. And if you like this type of content, what do you do?
Wait. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another video like this.
There you go. Alright, do you want an end piece or you want this piece?
That piece.
This one or that one? Big one? Yeah, you always go for the big one, don't you? Alright, let's give it a try. Oh man, this stuff is just awesome. It is tender, juicy, flavorful. I mean, with the sear and stuff, it's just really, really good. So, you know, like I said, doing the jerky this way, doing the flank steak this way, you can use 2 pieces of meat, same marinade, 2 different processes. You can do it all in one day. Kind of a fun way to do it. So thanks for watching, really appreciate it. That's good. Good though.
I was
Great.
like this the whole, like when you were talking, just like, I was like, no.
You can come in, I'm videoing, but it's gonna be
You
like
gotta cut
sped
that
up.
out. Okay.
No, not gonna cut it out. This is gonna be part of the video, but you won't have the sound.
Oh, and I use a whisk. So I was just gonna come and wait for these girls to prepare.
Okay.
Hey guys, Daddy's videotaping real quick. Now's a good time to cross, but cross behind the camera.
Hey, children's.
Hey, Dad. You're not doing it?
I am.
Sorry.
I'm gonna do one without sound. Right now, this is my mixing part.
Tell us when you're done, Dad.